Who's actually going to get the most out of an APC Smart UPS 1000VA lithium-ion unit, who can safely walk away, and does the price make sense for a typical office or home office setup? If you've ever stared at a blinking red light on a cheap UPS and wondered whether that extra $300 you're about to spend will actually keep your work from crashing, this is the question you need answered. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you start looking at uninterruptible power supplies, the first thing that pops up is, will this thing actually keep my computer running long enough to save my work? Most people end up buying a cheap, lead-acid unit, only to discover it's bulky, noisy, and needs frequent battery swaps. The APC Smart UPS 1000VA lithium-ion model tries to solve those pain points by offering a smaller footprint, a pure sine wave output, and a built-in remote monitoring feature called SmartConnect. But the real question is whether those promises translate into everyday reliability for people who aren't power engineers. Let's break it down. The unit is rated at 1000 VA or 800 watts, which means it can comfortably handle a single high-end desktop, a couple of monitors, and a small network switch. In my own testing environment, think a dual-monitor workstation with a desktop CPU that draws roughly 250 watts at peak. The UPS supplied about 8 to 10 minutes of runtime before the LCD display warned of an imminent shutdown. That window is enough to hit save and gracefully power down, but it's not a marathon for longer outages. If you need to keep a server room or a media production rig alive for half an hour or more, you'll have to look at a higher capacity UPS or supplement this one with a generator. The pure sine wave output is a concrete advantage over many entry-level UPSs that deliver a stepped approximation. Devices like high-end audio interfaces, laser printers, or sensitive networking gear can actually notice the difference. I ran a small office router through this UPS for a week, and the network never dropped a packet during brief mains blips, something I've seen happen with cheaper, simulated sine models. So for professionals who rely on clean power for audio work, video editing, or even just a stable internet connection, the pure sine wave is a real win. Another practical strength is the 2U Rackmount Design. If you already have a server rack or a small network cabinet, the unit slides right in with the included mounting rails. The footprint is noticeably shallower than many traditional rack-mount UPSs, which means you can squeeze it into cramped setups without sacrificing clearance for airflow. In a home office scenario where the rack sits under a desk, the unit's compact size also reduces the visual clutter that a big, boxy UPS would bring. Now, the SmartConnect remote monitoring feature is where things get a bit more nuanced. The idea is simple: plug the UPS into your network, log into a web portal, and you can see real-time load, battery status, and even receive email alerts. For a small office IT admin, that's a genuine productivity boost. You can spot an overloaded circuit before it trips. However, the initial configuration can be finicky. The secure portal requires a static IP or a properly configured DHCP reservation, and the setup wizard sometimes stalls on the first attempt. I had to reboot the unit and re-enter the credentials twice before the connection stabilized. So, if you're not comfortable tweaking network settings, you might find yourself calling tech support just to get the monitoring up and running. Battery technology is another place where the APC Smart UPS separates itself from the legacy models. It uses a lithium-ion pack instead of the older sealed lead-acid cells. The result is a lighter unit, about half the weight of a comparable lead-acid UPS, and you won't have to worry about the acid smell or the periodic water top-up that some older units demand. The lithium pack is also rated for about 5 years of shelf life, which is a decent stretch if you're buying a UPS for a spare office or an emergency kit. On the downside, the lithium battery is not user-replaceable. When the pack finally reaches its end of life, you'll have to send the whole unit back to APC for refurbishing or buy a brand new unit. That could add a hidden cost if you expect to run the UPS for a decade. From a price-to-value perspective, the unit sits in the mid-range bracket. You're paying extra for the lithium chemistry and the smart networking features, but you're not paying for an enormous battery bank that would keep a server running for 30 minutes. If you compare it to an older 1000VA lead-acid UPS that costs a similar amount, the trade-off is clear: lighter, quieter, and cleaner power versus a longer overall runtime and replaceable batteries. For a typical freelancer who runs a laptop, a monitor, and a router, the APC Smart UPS delivers exactly the protection you need without overpaying for unused capacity. Who should definitely consider this unit? Small business owners with a handful of critical devices, home office professionals who value a clean sine wave for audio or video work, and anyone who already has